Are you ready to go from beginner virtual assistant to master virtual assistant within 90 days of starting with your client? In this video, I'm going to dive through how you're going to be onboarding yourself when you start working with your client, especially as a virtual assistant in the next year of 2026. Basically, it's going to take a span of 90 days or basically 12 weeks, and what you should be focused on for each of those weeks so you can ramp yourself up and start in the best way when it comes to working with your client. Now, the first one is to prepare for your onboarding. The moment that you've started with your client, you want to make sure that you have access to the tools that you need to work on for the day-to-day. You're making sure that you're aware of your skills basically, or what are the expectations for you in the day-to-day? What are your responsibilities? What are the outcomes that your client wants to make sure that you're able to do, especially in those crucial first 90 days, and that you're able to, of course, deliver. So you're tracking what are the goals as well, and also you're starting to generate your daily report. Now, depending on your client, they may or may not want a daily report or end of day report, as it's also known, but you want to make sure that you have it at least for yourself, for your tracking. What are the things that you got done that day? What are the things that are still pending, that are still waiting? And what are the things that kind of blocked you or stopped you, or any questions you might have for your client as well? So this is a really good way to establish, one, a little bit of trust for your client, that they don't have to check in with you every day, because at the end of the day, they're going to get that report anyway. And also, it's a great way for you to establish your routine as their assistant, to see what are things that you do usually get done in the day, and what are the things that usually where you get stuck, and then where you just need a little bit of clarity when it comes to working with your client. On your second week, you're going to observe and capture. And what this means is, as you are going through essentially a little bit of that overwhelm of everything loud and everything else, you're just trying and starting new tasks, you don't really have a routine just yet, is you're just going to observe things as they arrive, and you're capturing things at the same time. What that means is, every single time that your client delegates a task, even if it's a task that you can do in 30 seconds, just capture it. Log it into your task tracker if you have a task tracker, or in whatever shape or form that you want to make sure that you are keeping tabs on what are the things that your client typically delegates or asks you to do, so you can start building a routine out of it. So you can see what are the things that he or she usually asks for in a day, in a week, in a month. Basically, as you go through this whole process, you're starting to categorize and see what are the normal tasks that you are going to be given, and also being able to flag if they're giving you tasks that are either outside of your scope or something that you've never been able to do before. Next is then refining your task tracker. Now, your task tracker doesn't have to be this big complicated thing. I have a very quick and easy task tracker that you guys can grab from the AI for Virtual Assistants community in the link below, but it basically is just a way for you to make sure, again, you're capturing the tasks that your clients are giving you. Even though it's something that you can just do right away, you're capturing them as they go, and you're starting to create your routine of what you do afterwards. That way, things don't fall through the cracks. You are observing still, you're still in that phase of trying to see where everything else is at, and then you're also starting to build your own kind of, again, that routine of what do you do when the client gives you a task, to make sure that it actually gets done and it doesn't become something that's forgotten or to do later. Now, there's a ton of different ways that you can build your task tracker. You can use Notion, you can use Trello, you can even use Google Sheets. The main purpose and the main point is that you do use it every day, and you're building out your kind of just automatic reflex of reaching for your task tracker whenever you receive a task, and of course, as that task goes through from to do, doing, and done, and then into your daily report. Next is, you want to make sure that you're capturing and organizing your recurring tasks. And what that basically means is you're making sure that as you've now started observing, hey, my client asks for these tasks to be done every single day. My client asks for these done every single week, and they've given me a heads up that every single month this has to be done. So you're starting to create a task list for yourself of what are the things that you know that you expect your client to delegate and give to you at certain times in the day, the week, the month. And then, of course, as you work with your client longer, then you'll start to see the quarterly, the yearly, whatever it is. The point of it is that you are already kind of building up these basically systems with your client, so then you know what to expect. You're not too surprised when things pop up, because you've learned to, again, you're observing, you're capturing and categorizing your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly tasks and whatever they are, and you're already building up hopefully a little bit of kind of a calendar for yourself where you know again what to expect. Next, on week 5, you're going to start creating your systems and your processes. What this means is as you've started to kind of accumulate that list of these are the things that I'm going to be doing regularly within the business, is you're going to start creating your checklist. Or if you want to be a little bit more robust, your standard operating procedure when it comes to working with your client. How do they want their Facebook posts to be posted? What's a checklist that you have to do every single time to make sure that that Facebook post goes out matching their brand, their voice, their goals essentially. If you're managing their email, what are the ways that you're making sure that they get categorized and responded to the same way every single time? So you're building out kind of your recipe book of how to work with your clients. So it's easier for you when you're sick, when you're not feeling it, when you feel low, that you have a process that you can follow very easy because you've actually started to work on a time of actually building those up. Next is creating your assets and your templates, which is basically as you've started to observe, capture, and categorize the things that you're doing as you're working with your client. You are now at the point where you're starting to see what are the patterns of things that your client doesn't have an asset or template for. Maybe there's an email that you always send out at the same time, but you feel like you're rewriting the same thing over and over again. But then you can go ahead and create templates and the assets around it that'll make it easier for you to do so. Whether maybe your client doesn't have a documentation for the contract or the proposal, or for just again how they respond to people who are inquiring to work with them. Whatever that looks like for you and your client, you need to start looking at not just the systems, but also the assets and templates. So basically building the systems is week 5. Week 6 is the creating the assets and the templates. Now week 7 and 8 is just refining your work. As you're going through the process of creating your standard operating procedures, creating your assets and templates, essentially, you're starting to see how you're doing the work, and then you want to focus the next week 7 and 8 basically, where you're just refining what you're currently working on and just kind of a little bit grinding of just making sure that you have captured what needs to be captured in the things that you're doing. Again, you're going through that whole process of capture, observe, basically now at the point of your capture, observe, categorize, refine, capture, observe, categorize, refine. So that's essentially week 7 and 8. Now by week 9, you've been working with your clients for 2 months now, which is exciting. So you want to start seeing if you can map out your processes based on what you've learned so far. So let's say that your client has been giving you bits and pieces of how to onboard their clients. Basically, a little bit of a meta of this video is you're learning how to onboard yourself to your client while onboarding their clients. So you're starting to see what that flow looks like and what, from getting them as a lead to your client converting them as a sale. How do you onboard them? How do you do the delivery side of making sure that they actually get what they paid for? So you're starting to what I recommend is you're actually gonna draw this out, whether that's on a iPad or even just pen and paper. You're actually drawing out your processes of how you do things, so you start seeing patterns. And it's a very important thing to start seeing patterns of how the work that you do with your client affects everything else. And this is the thing that will separate you from being a beginner virtual assistant to a master virtual assistant for your client, is that you are actually connecting the dots and looking at the output that you do rather than just focusing on the tasks that you're doing every single day. You are zooming out and starting to see what are the patterns that emerge. Why is this task more important than this one? Why is this part of the process more essential than this one? You're starting to see things kind of come together, and that usually comes only after you've been with your client for 2 months. That's why this is now on the week 9 mark. Now week 10 is upskilling yourself. As you start seeing essentially where your client is at, you start to see where you need to grow as well to kind of be able to cope and keep up and be flexible as you're doing a lot of the different tasks and work for your client. You've now moved into outcomes within the business. That means you have to change a little bit of your mindset. So you have to upskill yourself by reading books, by going through videos like mine, or by learning more courses or getting certifications, whatever that looks like for you. The key and important part here is you're upskilling yourself one way or the other. You're doing a little bit more just to kind of catch up and catch your breath as you're working with your client up to this point. Now, week 11, is one of the hardest ones. It's basically getting feedback from your client. If you haven't already asked them yet maybe in the previous weeks, you want to make sure that you do a quick check-in with your client of like, hey, we've been working together for the last month and a half, 2 months, and I want to be able to get feedback from you of how I'm doing and how I can do better. You want them to be able to look at the output that you've created in the last kind of 80 something days to that point and starting to get feedback on how you can do better. What are the ways that you can, again, further upskill yourself, as well as things that you already do really well. What are those things that are a highlight for them that seemed that it was going to be a harder part for them to delegate, but you made it easier? What are the ways that you have kind of changed their life a little bit? That way you kind of have one, a case study, and two, a little bit to motivate yourself as you go into week 12, which is basically starting to take initiative. And this is going to be a little bit of a scary thing, especially if they're your very first client, is to start taking initiative on the work that they are doing. So taking initiative is it's not really just about doing a little bit more than asked, is also observing and seeing what you can do better or what process or thing you can add to this. So remember earlier, we have the capture, observe, categorize, refine, and now it's taking initiative. We've gone through the whole spectrum here of like how to get from beginner all the way to master virtual assistant, where you're starting to take action. You're doing more than where you were at the very beginning. You're now at the point where you're taking initiative within your client's business. You're looking at ways that you can add, how you can make things a little bit easier, because it's not just easier for yourself, it's also easier for your client. Your first 90 days or 12 weeks with your client doesn't have to be this big scary thing. Again, starting off with week 1 is preparing your onboarding, making sure you have what you need as you get started. Week 2 is observing and capturing, making sure that you are seeing things and making sure you're writing them down somewhere as we get to week 3, which is creating your task tracker where you can capture things and make note of them and being able to move them from to do, doing, and done. Then you're going to be capturing your recurring of daily, weekly, monthly tasks that you're going to be doing with your client. Week 5, we have your capturing and creating your systems or your recipe book when it comes to working with your client. And then week 6 is creating your assets and your templates to make it easier for you to do the same thing over and over again. By week 7 and 8, you're refining your work. You're looking at the work that you've done so far and observing and seeing how you can do them better. And by the time you get to week 9, you're mapping out the processes that you've learned so far, and then maybe even working with your client of like, hey, this is what I've observed. What am I missing? What can I do better here? And then by the time that you are on week 10, you're upskilling yourself. You're looking at the gaps you might already have or that you observed that you need a little bit of training here, you need a little bit of a boost there. Then you are upskilling yourself by reading books, YouTube videos, going through courses, whatever that looks like, before you get to the very scary part on week 11 of getting feedback of how you can do better. And by week 12, you're taking initiative. So it's all about that spectrum. It's basically starting out for someone who is just observing, capturing, going ahead and categorizing, refining, and then now taking initiative when it comes to working with your client. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there. Comment below if you have any questions on what it's like to work with your client. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday on how to grow your career online, especially with AI. And if you are a business owner and you want to find out more of how to grow your business with AI, make sure to check out my second channel here and check out the latest video right here. Hope you guys have an amazing and wonderful day. And with that, small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.